Geek Insider presents Geek Speak with Matthew Harris and Meredith Loughlin. We cover entertainment, news, and tech with special guest appearances. So sit back and enjoy as we geek out together right now.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Geek Speak. I'm Meredith Loughlin with my co-host, Matthew Harris. And today we have a special guest here, Josh Ruben, writer, director, and Fred. What?
Hello. He's here.
And he's gonna do the whole interview as Devin. And I just had to throw that in there. I asked Aya how she kept a straight face when you were doing those scenes, and she said there was a lot of retakes on that.
A lot of retakes, but she is the focused actor. She comes from truly comes from the theater world. I did Woodstock Youth Theater, but I think maybe the most we were breaking up was the shot of the handshake between the troll and her. Our one truly Raimi shot.
Well, like I said, I was able to see the movie Scare Me. It just came out today on Shudder, but I was able to see it a few weeks ago. But tell everyone that's tuning in what's Scare Me about. As we said, you're the writer, director, and you co-star in this. But tell everyone what Scare Me is all about.
Well, it's on the surface, it's an anthology horror movie that doesn't leave the campfire. Two strangers riding out a power outage, telling each other stories. But what it's really about is Fred, the male of the two, the man of the man-woman duo that is Fred and Fanny. He feels quite overshadowed, intimidated, and emasculated by her success and her storytelling prowess. So the undercurrent of it explores gender dynamics and men, especially a white average American male like Fred, being kind of unable to self-soothe and deal in the presence of a woman's greatness. Which is a tricky, kind of heavy sounding topic, but ultimately I set out to make the kind of midnight movie that you want to just pop on and forget about the horrors of the world. So hopefully you get a little bit of.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. We just spun you around. I clicked the wrong thing, and then Meredith fixed it, and I clicked the wrong thing again.
No, that was a fun ride, though. I feel like I was at Dutchess County Fair. Shout out to Hudson Valley. Yeah.
Now you're muted, Meredith.
I was going to say, oh my gosh, I'm from there. I'm from Orange County originally.
Whoa! I was born in D.C., but I grew up in Woodstock for the most part, and I shot my both Scare Me and my most recent picture up in that part of town. So.
Okay, all right, from my neck of the woods.
Yeah,
awesome. So I noticed that you've got a little bit of facial growth there going. It must be a relief that it's finally released today. Maybe tomorrow you can get some sleep. I don't know.
Yeah, I gotta say, it's such a privileged thing to say. I'm so thrilled that my dream has come true, but it kind of feels like your wish has a little bit of poop on it. It's like, hey, all your dreams came true. It's just got a little bit of, it might smell a little bit like poop, because of the virus. But I'm very, very grateful. Press is weird. I'd much rather be in person with you, be flying to these places where they, would have had screenings. We were talking about a run at Alamo, like a brief run. That would have just been the love and thrill of my life. But it was a bucket list item just to do the thing, let alone Shudder acquiring it, let alone Sundance, let alone it, being on a platform with over 1 million subscribers. I'm over the moon, but it is odd. It is definitely a different experience, as we're all and we're all a part of.
Right now, we are big advocates of indie developers, indie creators like yourself, and so we know that this coming out this year, it's been a long time coming. How long ago did you first get the idea for Scare Me and then start the writing process? I mean, how long did it take from idea to getting it to today?
I'd say the whole process has been probably 2 years. At the beginning of 2018 was when it's sort of the hill to the Me Too movement. Specifically, Aziz Ansari is a comedian who I've got a lot of mutual friends with, and you hear about him, taking advantage of a young woman, and that was the one that really it really got to me. And I started engaging a lot of conversations with women on Instagram, both friends of mine and fans of mine from my years at College Humor, which, coincidentally is a very male-oriented site. And they were praising me for my allyship. And what I was doing was simply sharing or signal boosting my disappointment in what was happening in the world. And I was kind of angry, like, I'm not really doing anything. I'm just sharing a couple of stories and saying, well, this is disappointed. Well, this person's a piece of shit. Well, why would you do something like that? And then I sort of decided, congruently, after I'd read Like Brothers, the Duplass's book, which is phenomenal, especially if you're looking to make a film or you just want to, get off your butt and make something. I decided I really don't want to make commercials anymore, or as I'm making commercials, I at least want to scratch the itch of doing my first narrative thing. So having read that, I just thought I'm going to script something that explores maybe a different kind of gender dynamic, an icky specific feeling, not a Me Too movie, not a preachy movie, and wrap it in the veneer of the types of films that I loved as a kid, Tales from the Dark Side and Stephen King's Cat's Eye and, all things Freddy Krueger and Freddy's Nightmares and John Carpenter's Body Bags, and goes on and on.
And I have to say, you did a really good Crypt Keeper on the movie as well. Aya's was close, but yours was just almost just. I bet it would be put them next to each other on the voice graph or whatever. You'd have been pretty close there because you were rocking it.
Thank you, Matthew. I've watched way too much Tales from the Crypt. I don't know if there is too much to watch, but my God.
Now, she also said that you had a face that was like rubber. I mean,
Yes.
You could do anything, and it was fun to work with you.
I'm glad she feels that way. I'll say, I think that the greatest trick this devil ever pulled was convincing Chris Red and Aya to come aboard the weird train. I mean, truly to trusting me. And a big piece of that success was their coming from the live performance world and then being, they're, making bold choices and doing kind of weird stuff, doing, challenging stuff is in their DNA. And I'm so glad that they trusted me.
Now, this is your first feature film, yes?
Correct. Yeah.
What was that like for you?
It's so funny. You get that first filmmaker luck and also the curses of it. We shot, our first day was the coldest day in 8 years of shooting. And on pre-pro day, the day before, our kind of build day, our load-in day, the grip truck slid down the driveway towards the cabin into the ditch and sort of lived there until the end of the shoot. So we took equipment out of that truck, brought it into the house. We got snowed out twice. There was 2 oncoming blizzards where at one point the snow was up, 4 feet to our waist, and both Aya and Chris had to sleep toe to toe on opposite couches, or head to toe on opposite couches at my parents' house. Because they couldn't get back to their respective places. And the first day I walk into the crew house, hey, day 1 of shooting, and the pipes have frozen. So you have a crew of 10 people who haven't been able to shit or shower, or at least, flush or shower. And there wasn't hot breakfast on day 1, which changed immediately. So I learned many a lesson. The biggest thing was the elements. And, ultimately you got to keep your crew, happy, fed, and caffeinated. Which is a lesson I've known of, but I never quite, thought how crucial it was as a producer while acting, while directing. And I'm glad that.
If you've never pooped in an outhouse in the dead of winter up in upstate New York, you haven't lived. Okay.
Yeah. Oh man, the kiss of below 5-degree porcelain on your behind. It's different.
No, that'll wake you up.
That'll wake you up.
Yeah. Now you mentioned Chris Red a minute ago, and he shows up about halfway through the movie and steals almost every scene he's in. Yeah. And Aya said that there was times y'all would just sit back and let him go because he would just be going off with this stuff. How fun was it working with Chris? And then how did you get Chris involved in the movie?
Well, Chris and I, thank God, we share a manager and an agent. So I'm with ICM, an artist first, and they sort of suggested him. We were looking for this kind of cameo role, and I didn't know Chris's work really. And I'd sort of done a deep dive on his sketches. He just won an Emmy, and I thought, well, this is a no-brainer. I mean, is he interested? And they set us up on a lunch meeting, and he had his coat barely halfway off as he was praising the script and saying, I want to do it, before he sat down. And then we just kind of had a meeting. How is he to work with? He's unbelievable and so funny and warm and wonderful and professional and fast on his feet. And I can't say enough good things. I mean, it's so rare, I feel like, that you meet just actors who are great and warm and just want to have fun, don't have an ego about them. And I imagine part of that is the Lorne Michaels boot camp. And also Chris didn't have, he didn't have an easy upbringing, or if he had an easy upbringing, he had a hard go of it for a brief time, falling in with a gnarly crew, so to speak. And he had the life experience, and he's just, he has nothing to lose. I mean, he's a hard working dude, and I love working with him every second of it. And him and I got along like gangbusters. So that added to it, compounded my snap, Fred's, sort of act 3 switch, is feeling like a third wheel. So I just sit back and watch them just kind of enjoy it. And that was really, really wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Now, since you've had this role now, you've got writer, you've got director under your belt, you've got actor under your belt. Is there any one that you kind of lean more towards?
I really love directing and writing what I direct. I think writing is at the core of it, which, it's funny. There's a movie about a writer who struggles because it's, every bit as accurate to my life as you can imagine, down to the laziness of it and the desperation for praise and accolade, although that was more an issue I had in my, 20s. But I think the name of the game is artistic control and wanting to work with your friends. And you're going to hear that from me to Karyn Kusama to Scorsese. People are always going to want to keep their friends close when it comes to making stuff. So, while it would be nice to direct kind of, what do they call day playing gigs, an episode of television, or you don't have quite control over that. And I'm a very empathetic person, and easily affected when, I'm not quite delivering on someone's baby. And so I'd like to imagine I'll continue writing stuff that I can hand off to great filmmakers to execute and shepherd those filmmakers. And Mark Duplass and Jay Duplass are really, really wonderful examples of that, of shepherding and raising other talent up. So it's something I'd like to do eventually. But if I can direct stuff that I write, or act stuff in it I write in the hands of a great director who's perhaps an unknown or hadn't gotten the chance to do that, that's the world I want to be in.
Now, when you wrote the part for the Uber driver, your driver, did you have that actress in mind? Or did she just embody your writing? Because that just seemed just a perfect part for her.
Becky Drysdale, I gotta say, when I wrote that part, I kind of imagined, well, this would be wonderful if you got an actor from the Stephen King universe to come in and play this part. So the inspiration was, Kathy Bates. What if we got a Kathy Bates or an Ann Dowd and roughed up her teeth and her hair and gave her the big jacket? Obviously this is a tiny movie, and I didn't quite know who to sort of ask, and I didn't want the whole cast to look like contemporaries of age. And so that was a call, actually, our producer, Dan Powell, made. He'd known and worked with Becky for years, and I just didn't even think of it. And I'm so glad that we went with her, because she steals every scene and every moment she's in, and she starts the movie, and it's just really, really wonderful.
Yeah, she had me cracking up a couple of times there. I mean, when she repeats herself to wake you up, we've all met people like that.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm not going to spoil anything, but at the end, it was just perfect. But really enjoyed it. I do have to ask one thing though, man, because this is not bothered me, but kind of stuck in the back of my head.
Yeah.
Are you a fan of The Shield, and is that where Franny Abbey's name came from?
Wow. Well, I don't. Is there that might be, maybe there's a if there's a Franny Abbey, that's crazy, because Franny Addy a Fanny Addie is Aya. I've never seen The Shield.
Oh, Fanny Addie. Okay, I got you. See,
Yeah,
I
I
didn't
know.
even look up the names. I just was going by
Well,
watching the
even
movie.
Fred calls her Franny at one point. It's Franny, so Fanny like a bum. So I get where you get that from. But I imagine, I don't know, maybe I caught an episode of The Shield and just art is in memory. I just kind of planted it.
Because that was the only time I'd ever heard those names together. So I was just wondering. But
who knows? Who knows? You kind of soak up everything in your environment.
Right.
Maybe it's remnant of it, flipping through channels.
Now, when we had Aya on, I asked her whether or not you guys kind of stayed to the script or whether you kind of improv'd, and she said that there was a little bit of both, but you mostly stayed to the script. The improv, though, did any of that make it into the film, and will we ever see any of those clips?
I really hope we get to. There's a whole deleted scene where the three of us sort of join on the couch before we stand and agree to do Devil Singer. It's once we'd agreed to do it, but there was a long 4 or 5 minute take, and it was scripted. But we improvised, and we inadvertently started this chant song, and it was so funny, but in the edit it just was too long. I mean, my first cut came in at 2 hours and 2 minutes, and I said to the editor, this is brilliant, as every first filmmaker does. He goes, no, you don't understand, you're going to end up cutting a half an hour out of this film, there's no question. I said, no, it's all genius. I'm so glad we did. So our main criticism has been like, this is a little fatty for this kind of a movie, but the improv that we did, where it's a bit opened up, Aya's Zumba joke, Chris Red going off, Carlo going off on Perfect Night to Kill Each Other, and him kind of acting out. There's like a 10-minute scene of him acting out an expansive sequence with, the Zodiac blowing someone's window out and the cops pulling him over and him being afraid of the cops because of the black guy. I mean, it was like absolutely phenomenal. So that, I think those two scenes I'd love to find and so get them off the hard drive and color them and put them up.
Right, the director's cut. There you go.
Yeah. Oh God, I don't think anybody want to watch it, but the separate scenes. And what I would like to do too is make that single available for everyone at some point. Love that song.
And folks that are out there listening, especially if you're listening in on the podcast, not tuned in on YouTube or Facebook, you can catch Scare Me on Shudder today, as of today. And this is one big reason to get a subscription to Shudder if you haven't already done so. But it's October 1st, guys. It is Halloween month. And so, and Shudder has all kinds of killer shows. I've been binge watching Creep Show, and I had to watch Fade to Black, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and then they add new stuff all the time. And my wife and I watched several movies the same weekend we watched Scare Me, and we enjoyed all of them.
I'm so glad.
But Scare Me, guys, it's this really, it's a horror comedy is the best way to describe it because it has plenty of laughs. It's not a jump scare or a traditional horror kind of film, but it is got that campfire feeling. And I just really enjoyed it. I like what you put together. And then it was even better because I watched it just seeing you as a star. I didn't find out till afterwards that you also wrote, directed, and starred in it. And actually until Aya said something, and I went back and looked and then told Merritt that I was like, holy crap. I said, Josh wore all three hats. It's just like what you say at the beginning of the movie. You said, actor or writer, director / actor, or however you say it.
Yeah. He's trying to be impressive to, this townie who's plowing through him. I mean, no one's going to give you a shot but yourself. No one's going to spoon feed you your ideal scenario or your dream. You really do have to manifest it. And that's advice I give to young filmmakers too. They say, how do I start? How do I do what you did? And I said, at some point, you're just going to have to do the work. Like you have to even pick up the iPhone, Rob Savage and Jed Shepard made Host entirely in quarantine with iPhones and the Zoom template. And Host is arguably one of the best horror movies of the year. And, that takes a lot of experience, and they've done several shorts and the like together. But I'm so impressed when filmmakers can just, are boxed into a corner and get up and kind of do the thing. And you can will it into existence, but you gotta jump off the cliff, you just kind of got to go there. And no one was going to spoon feed me an opportunity to have a showcase. So this was my one opportunity, as kind of modest as I can be. And I like attention, and reluctant as I can be about these sorts of things. I ultimately, I knew that no one was going to give me a better shot than myself. And I want to kind of keep going down this route if I can, while continuing to discover different actors and give folks, especially the marginalized and underrepresented performers who don't look like me and don't come from where I come from, the opportunity to do the things that Aya and Chris and I did. And that's something I've always been excited and fascinated about, cross-pollinating actors across genres and upending expectations from where you see this person and in what movie. And I've never seen them do this type of humor or horror or the like. It's something I, hope to continue to do, while giving myself, scratching the itch of a cameo and wearing a funny nose.
Well, one of the wonderful things about indie creators is that they can open the doors to so much diversity and inclusion, talk about things that maybe mainstream won't talk about. And so I guess my question for you right now would be, beyond the financial struggles of trying to fund an indie movie, what would be the next biggest thing, the biggest struggle that you might have as a independent creator, filmmaker, or otherwise actor?
Beyond kind of finding the money and do the thing, like if you're truly a first timer. Well, I truly believe that this whole thing begins, and this transcends gigs and transcends careers. The whole thing begins with who you surround yourself with. So one of the kind of wonderful life lessons I've learned in recent years is that your friends are activism. Who you choose to have around you, from your husband, wife, partner, to your friends, to a kind of a friend, to, realizing that you don't have to hang out with anyone who doesn't raise you up is like step number, -1. It truly is. And so if you want to make stuff, you should keep a good radar and a good antenna up to the folks who raise you up and praise you and say, that's a great idea, Matthew. Like Meredith, oh my gosh, I love that. I want to do this thing that helps raise up similar X, Y, and Z. I think it is truly hard, because there's a lot of, there's a lot of like snakes in the grass, even if you're not like in the biz. There's a lot of people who want to, wear you down or intimidated or don't know how to deal with it. And it's why I'm dealing with the subject matter I'm dealing with. There's a lot of people like Fred who want to needle and undermine. And that's a very real thing, especially with people who look like me. Mid-30s white dudes for sure, where we're grown up entitled. But it is your network. So building that network, and then, those people, certainly if they're great, you see eye to eye, they're going to know someone who knows someone who knows someone, or who's just going to get excited by you and want to do a thing with you. So it's, money, sure, but people to help make it happen, who believe in you and will be there for you and go in the trenches with you, is everything.
I love that. That is like probably one of the best answers I've heard, because, quite honestly, if you have good people around, and to what you were saying before, you can grab an iPhone and make a movie.
I will never forget. That's exactly right. I will never forget my friend who did wardrobe on Scare Me and has done wardrobe and even produced. He's multi-hyphenate, brilliant director and writer. Sean Dermond. He worked on Scare Me. He's done short films. We had a job for Comedy Central years ago where, we'd truly been in the trenches together. And this is a very buttoned up guy, wears vests and, blazers, and he tailors his own suits. He's a very sort of conservative seeming, and, he's like gentleman, goes to jazz festivals. He's my age, more mature than I'll ever be. He goes to jazz festivals. We were doing a scene where we're shooting a horror parody that was going to be on a television in the background. And I couldn't get the blood gag to work. And spray it onto this actress, and he goes, take a swig of the blood and spit it on her. And I wouldn't have thought to do it. And the actress was my friend. I wasn't trying to pull a Tarantino and, be weird. But it truly was like we had 60 seconds before the producer was going to pull the plug. And I said, "Are you okay with this? Siobhan, are you okay with this?" She said, "Yeah, absolutely. Let's go." And that was what we had to do in the minute, rather than glugging it on her because it wouldn't look real. He said, "Take a swig of it." And I did it. And boom. And that's 3 people. That's the network. I mean, the actress who trusts me, I trust him. He's right. He loves me. I mean, it was like, that's what network and trust is,
Now, folks, if you haven't, those of you that are listening, I'm sure you haven't seen it yet. So take out your earbuds for a minute or turn down the volume, because I got to ask Josh here a question that could be quite spoiler filled. Josh, Fred hears from his ex and she says, "You're a monster." At the end, Fred tells Fanny that I was just kidding, but then he gives that evil smile. Was he really a serial killer?
Originally, before the script got to the place it was in, I did have Fred be a light switch psycho. I just thought, okay, he's going to turn out to be. And I brought this script when we were still looking for investors to one of the guys who works at a company called QC. I really need to find. I need to have his name on the tip of my tongue. I believe his name is Ray, and Ray said, "This is good, but it's a little too convenient that you just flip a switch and this, this guy's psychotic." And it's not true to life, and honestly, it isn't true to life. And what we end up with is a guy who represents the man in a situation where a woman at the end of the night doesn't quite know if a guy's going to kiss her or take a swing. He's had too much to drink, or if he's going to rough house and whatever else.
Right.
And, that's what I wanted it to be, because he was totally right. So ultimately, Meredith, this ex, is still alive. She's still calling him. He's letting her see the phone. So if you really go back and you look at it, you're like, okay, so he's just kind of shitty,
Gotcha.
He's just kind of a shitty guy.
Well, that's the way that I felt, but my wife was like, "No, I think Fred was really psycho."
She's right too. And I think it's roughhousing,
Gotcha.
Now, we have to let you go in about 2 minutes, and we always have one question at the very end of our interviews, and I always screw it up, so I'm going to pass it back to Matthew.
And really, you kind of almost gave us an answer to this earlier. It's, if you could go back in time and give yourself one piece of advice, what would it be?
Well, it might be a little on the nose, but the next great idea is around the corner. Don't sweat the small stuff. There's always more ideas.
Beautiful.
Don't hedge everything on this one little nugget. No matter how great you think it is. Yeah.
Well, great. Well, we're going to show the trailer here after Josh leaves. He's got a heart out. He's got other places to be. But Josh, it has been a real pleasure to meet you. Like I said, we enjoyed the movie. Can't wait to see more from you. And anytime you got anything to promote, man, be sure you swing on by and let us know.
Yep.
Thank you both so much.
What I did was I shared out your Twitter account. I don't know if you're very active on there. Where else can we find you?
Yeah.
I'm on Instagram at the same handle, at Josh Ruben. And if you really want to get crazy, I just started, ticking around on TikTok. So you can find me at Josh Ruben Stuff. And, I'll just do more Jeff Bridges impressions. What can I say? Yeah, man.
Wonderful. Thank you, Josh. We know you have to get out of here. We really appreciate you. Thank you for being part of our programming.
Thank you for having us. This was such a thrill. Thank you.
Yep.
Well,
Thanks
I'm not
so
going to
much,
boot you out of here. You have to leave yourself. There's the door.
Bye.
You too. Thanks, Josh. All right, everyone. That was Josh Ruben, the writer, director, and co-star of
Fred.
Fred of Scare Me. Let's take a quick look at that trailer. Let me pull it up here. Where did it go? Where did it come from?
So, we do have permission to play the trailer. Yep. So, YouTube.
Yes, YouTube.
You know what you can do with that.
No yelling at us. Here we go.
Hi.
Hi. So what are you running from?
Running.
Well, this place looks, haunted.
I'm writing.
Oh, really? Me too. So what are you working on?
It's kind of a revenge story about werewolves. You written anything I've read, or?
I just wrote a book called, Venus.
You wrote Venus. You're a best-selling author.
I'm so sorry. This road is actually only for best-selling authors, so I might kick you out.
You're not so great. Huh.
Power outage. I'm bored. Let's tell each other scary stories.
Cheese, that veggie, right?
You seem like a fella who might be interested in some scary stories.
And you seem correct.
Hit me, Scaremaster.
So, there's this little boy. You hear something.
Gasp.
This is the part in the story where the creepy strings kick in. Everything goes into slow motion.
Jesus Christ, dude.
It's a good story, right?
It's just been done like, I don't know, 600 or 700 times.
Just because you're the best-selling author doesn't mean you get to school me on story.
Actually, yes, it does.
Look at you! You are emasculated!
I'm going to get you.
Run, Jason! No witnesses! Do one about dead babies. Like an army of them? You know, they got like little baby heads. They just like, we don't want bottles, we want blood, you know?
Fred, what are you doing with that poker? Is this part of the story?
Geek Insider presents Geek Speak.
Wrong one. Here we go with the outro.
You've been tuning in to Geek Speak with Matthew Harris and Meredith Lochran, a Geek Insider presentation. Subscribe to the Geek Insider podcast on your favorite listening app and sign up for the newsletter on our website. We also have advertising opportunities through the website, podcast, and newsletter. For details, contact advertising at geekinsider.com. This has been a Geek Insider production. Thank you for listening. Geek out.